When a global power like Japan partners up with a rising nation in a supercritical region like Uzbekistan, it's never just about handing over aid money. There's always a much deeper strategic vision at play. So, today, we're going to break down exactly how this partnership works and what it really tells us about Japan's ambitions on the world stage.
And really, it all starts at the very top. This quote from Prime Minister Kishida. It's not just your typical diplomatic talk. This is the guiding principle for Japan's entire foreign policy. The goal? To help shape a stable world, but, and this is the key part, to do it in a quintessentially Japanese way. Think about what that means. Focusing on quality, on long-term stability, on mutual respect, not just quick transactional deals.
Okay, so a grand vision is one thing. But how do you actually turn that into reality on the ground? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into. We're going to use this partnership with Uzbekistan as a perfect case study to see how Japan's strategy actually works in the real world.
So to really get why Japan is so invested in Uzbekistan, we've got to zoom out for a second. We need to look at Japan's global playbook, because this partnership, it's not random. Nope, it's a very calculated, very important piece of a much, much larger puzzle. And what's really interesting here is the philosophy behind all this. Japan's whole strategy is built on creating a predictable world, one based on international rules. It's a deliberate, steady focus on stability and partnership. And that's a huge contrast to other aid models, the ones that might prioritize just extracting resources or getting political leverage. This right here, this is the why behind every single yen they invest.
All right, so with that big global strategy in mind, let's zoom back in. Let's head to Central Asia. Now, of all the countries in this critical region, why Uzbekistan? Why is Japan focused so intently on this one partnership?
Well, the answer really lies in Uzbekistan's unique strategic position. First off, it's the region's demographic heavyweight with 35 million people. It's rich in key resources. But here's the most important part. Its stability is seen as the anchor for the entire Central Asian region. The thinking is pretty simple. If Uzbekistan is stable, the whole region is stable.
This partnership is also a story about timing. It's absolutely crucial. See, Uzbekistan is in the middle of this massive transformation. We're talking about decades of a Soviet-style resource-heavy economy, and then, boom. Since 2016, the country's been rapidly opening up, trying to build a modern, diversified, market-driven economy, and that created the perfect opportunity, the perfect moment for a partner like Japan to step in and help.
So how exactly does Japan help? Well, their support is structured around two main pillars. Let's talk about the first one, which is really the foundation for everything else. It's all about building a modern, sustainable economy. And this chart, it just brilliantly illustrates their whole approach. Japan isn't just, throwing money at problems. It's surgical. They're targeting specific challenges, many of them leftovers from the Soviet era. So you've got aging infrastructure. Japan helps build high-quality, modern systems. The economy relies too much on natural resources. Okay, Japan supports diversification into new industries. There's a shortage of skilled workers for a new market economy. Right, the focus shifts to developing human resources. It's a direct response.
And listen, this isn't just theory on a slide. Look at these actual projects. We're not just talking about building a road. We're talking about creating entire value chains for things like fruits and vegetables. They're not just saying, hey, you should do tourism. They're providing advisors to make sure it's sustainable for the long haul. And through things like the Uzbekistan-Japan Center, they are directly training the next generation of business leaders.
But look, a strong economy is only half the battle, right? That brings us to the second pillar of Japan's strategy. And this one is all about making sure that growth is fair and sustainable. It means focusing on people, on social services, and tackling some absolutely huge environmental challenges.
And again, you see that same targeted approach. The strategy dives right into the growing gap between the cities and the countryside, pushing for everyone to have equal access to services. It tackles weaknesses in healthcare and education head-on. And it confronts the massive, and I mean massive, environmental legacy issues that the country is facing. So, at the end of the day, what's really crucial here is the human impact. These aren't just line items in a budget. They're about real people. We're talking about making sure that kids with disabilities get a quality education right from preschool. We're talking about improving medical clinics in really remote regions like Karakol, Pakistan. And it's about building modern systems to manage public health. Everything from preventing diseases to making sure there's a safe blood supply. Now, when we talk about environmental legacy, there is one issue that stands above all the rest: the shrinking of the Aral Sea.
It's been called the greatest environmental destruction of the 20th century. Just let that sink in. A man-made catastrophe on a scale that's almost impossible to imagine.
But here's the thing. Even in the face of a disaster that big, the strategy isn't to despair. It's all about practical, forward-looking solutions. Instead of just giving up, Japan is supporting projects that help farmers adapt to the new reality. They're using cutting-edge tech to manage what little water there is more efficiently. And they're even finding new economic opportunities, like ecotourism, in the wetlands that are starting to recover. It's all about building resilience.
And just to give you a sense of the scale of this commitment, look at this number, 128.2 billion yen. That's about 800 million US dollars. And that's not for everything. That's for one project, a modern, efficient power plant for the capital, Tashkent. I mean, that is a massive, massive investment in the country's core infrastructure.
Okay, so we've seen the what and the how. But now let's get to the really important question. Why does any of this matter? And it is so crucial to understand this. This isn't charity. This is a strategic alliance. It's a two-way street that's deeply beneficial for both sides.
This table just lays out the win-win perfectly. For Uzbekistan, yeah, they get the tools they need for modernization, better social services, a better quality of life. But now, look at Japan's column. This is not just about finding new markets. It's about securing a stable, friendly partner in a really volatile part of the world. And that is a direct win for its entire free and open Indo-Pacific strategy. You have to see it this way. Every investment in Uzbekistan's stability is also an investment in Japan's own long-term security.
And so we've kind of come full circle. We started with that big, grand vision from Prime Minister Kishida about global stability. And now we've seen exactly how that vision gets turned into reality, through specific, impactful projects right there on the ground in Uzbekistan. It's a direct line from a policy speech in Tokyo all the way to a new medical clinic in Karakalpakstan. That's strategy in action.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty big final question to think about. In a world that feels like it's full of growing tension, does this quintessentially Japanese model, this patient, long-term investment in mutual prosperity, does it offer a more sustainable path to global stability than some of the other more aggressive strategies we see out there? It's a really powerful idea to consider, isn't it?